Canary Quilts, and this is the next video in the 11th Simple Whatnots Miniature Club, month number 3, and they're calling this quilt Crossroads. So this quilt is almost done. The next video is going to be putting on one more border, and then we're going to quilt it and bind it. So it's not going to be very big. It said it was going to be 20 inches, and I've got my little 18-inch easel here. And that's exactly what it is, 18 inches. And I have really enjoyed putting this together. It's been a lot of fun. I love miniature quilts. I mean, look at this. There is so much going on in such a small space. It is just so much fun to do. So today, last time we did this intersection, today we're going to be doing the second border that goes around here, and the third border, which goes around the outside. So they're essentially the same. There's just some difference in color, and like this piece is a little bit longer. So other than that, the corners are exactly the same. So it's really like once you put the second border or the inner border together, the outer border goes together really fast because you know what you're doing. So this shouldn't be a very long video. But anyway, let's get started so you can have a little quilt that looks just like this too. So let me know if you're making this. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on my Facebook page. Subscribe to this channel so that you can get notified when the last video in this little quilt goes up, and so you can find out everything else that's going on my channel. And let's get started. Okay, to get to piecing border number 1, the short side, and that's what this is right here. I've already built one and I've added it to my center star unit. So this is the short border number 1, and then we're going to have a longer border one that's going to be over here. But right now this is just the short one. And I want to show you what pieces you will need to put this together. And I want to start right here with this flying goose. You are going to need a rectangle, a cream rectangle, and 2 of these specific green or blue, whatever they call it blue, squares with a diagonal marked on the back of it. So you'll need 2 of those for your flying goose in the middle. Then you'll need half square triangle squares here on either side with this specific teal color. So we've got 2 of those here on either side. Then we've got a rectangle, basically half a flying goose on either side, where we've got a cream rectangle and a square, and I need to mark them, but they need to be marked on the diagonal. And then out here on the edges, we have this specific square cranberry with right here is a half square triangle square with a random cranberry triangle and a cream triangle. So we have 2 of those. So that's how you're going to build, those are the pieces you need to build this. So to get started, excuse me, I'm going to start with half my, right here, let me pull this back, half my flying goose right here. So I'll put that together, we'll sew on the diagonal, trim a 1/4 inch, and iron towards the green. Then these squares over here, I'm going to put these triangles together, and then we'll sew a 1/4 inch and cut the tails off. And then to go over to my sewing machine, I will need these here. So I need to mark my diagonal. I forgot to do that on these. And this diagonal is going to go like this. So we're going to sew that way. And then this diagonal will go on the other side. And we're going to sew this way. So we want to have it look like this on either side. So that's how those go together. And I need another clip. And then we can sew these two corner units here together. These triangles can get sewn together, 1/4 inch, and then the tails can be cut off. And all of these triangles that we're sewing together can be ironed to the dark side. So I'm going to get all of this sewn and then bring it back here. Okay, I'm back from sewing. The flying geese, you trim a quarter of an inch from your seam. So I did that here and ironed towards the dark. I got my two triangles sewn together and the tails clipped off, same here. So what I want to do next is finish this flying geese in the middle. And we're going to make it so that our diagonal crosses over the green part we sewed before, right here. And then we can put these two pieces together too over at the sewing machine. And this is exactly how they go together. So I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to pin the side I want to sew. Same here, flip it, pin the side I want to sew. And this section right here that I'm sewing is right here. So when we get finished with all of this sewing, we can come back here and start putting our two rows together. Okay, back with my flying goose, it's done. These side sections are done right here. We can set those aside for now. So what we want to do is we want to build this row right here. So let's flip this over, get our triangles in place the way we need them, and this is exactly how we need these to go together. So we will sew this row together and iron all our seams out. So I'm going to get all these sewn together, iron my seams towards the edge of each side of the block, and then come back here and we can put this on. Okay, I got my row right here sewn together. So we've got our long 8.5 inch strip. We will now flip it. And I've got it the wrong way. You want it to be this way. That's exactly how we want it to look. We can flip it and we will sew it onto this, and we iron towards the cream. Okay, we got that sewn together. Now it's time to put our end pieces on, and we will, let's see, yep, we will sew them 1/4 of an inch. These two seams do nest, which makes it nice to put them together. And then we will sew towards the outer piece. Let's see, we want to go like this. Got to be mindful how you're putting your pieces on. We'll sew this and we will iron towards the outer piece. And then we'll be able to put it onto our piece here. Okay, there we go. There's our first border, short side. It'll go over here and we will just flip it, and I am going to turn it so I can put it together. And you do have some seams that will match up here. So just look for those at the end of the flying geese. And then a few other seams down the line you'll have that'll match up. These seams match up, but they are not ironed opposite of each other. And then sew this 1/4 of an inch and iron towards the border. And then we'll be done with that first short border. There we go, there's the first border, the short side. So now I'm going to show you how to put together the long side of the first border. Let's see. Okay, so we did this short border last time. Now I've done one long border, so this is what we're doing this time, is right here. And this centerpiece here is exactly the same, so I built it already, since you already know how to build this. The only thing we're gonna do is build this outer section right here, which is gonna be 2 sets of flying geese, which I've got right here. Hi, Snibs. Hi, BB. And then right here, we've got a half square triangle square. And over here, we've got a half square triangle square, which is what these 2 triangles are for here. And then we've got a rectangle, which is done specifically out of this material. So, to put this together, look out, Bubbers, look out. You're getting in the way. So I'm going to start with the flying geese. Take my cream rectangle, and I've already drawn diagonals there on my red or on my cranberry. So, oh my goodness, I'm getting kisses. Buddy, I love you too. I love you too. Come on, let's go right there for a minute. And then I'm going to do it on the second one also. So I'll get my 2 flying geese started. And then I'm going to take, excuse me, Bub. I'm going to take my 2 cream triangles and my 2 cranberry triangles. Hey, come on. Oh, I love you, but you gotta get down for a minute. Okay. So my cream triangle and my cranberry triangle. Oh no, he's back. I'm going to put together, and I'm going to sew those. And what did you do with it, Snibs? What did you do with it? Well, looks like my kitty misplaced it, so I need to grab another one. So, there we go. Got another 2 triangles that we're going to sew together. So, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. I'm going to sew the 2 triangles at a 1/4 inch and then iron towards the dark and then trim the tails. And I'm going to start with my flying geese with this one, sew on the line, trim a 1/4 inch from the seam, and iron it towards the dark. So I'm doing the flying geese here, and I'm doing the half square triangle square here, and I forgot to grab the squares. We also need 2 cream squares. Oh, Bud, you're so sweet. I love you, but you can't help me sew. Mwah. Okay, let's head over to the sewing machine. Okay, here's the pieces that I just sewed together. Half of our flying geese and our 2 half square triangle squares. So I just have to go over and finish the other flying geese here. Get those trimmed, and then we're gonna put this together in rows. So let me finish these and we'll be back to put it together in rows. Okay, so this is how our end pieces are gonna go together. And the way we do this is, gotta get some pins. We will sew our square cream color onto the flying geese. And always clip the side you're going to sew. And we're going to sew our half square triangle square onto our cranberry rectangle. Clip the side you're going to sew. Sew these at a 1/4 inch. And these get ironed towards these 2 get ironed towards the patch, the cream colored patch, and these 2 get ironed towards the cranberry rectangle. Okay, I've got my rows sewn together, and now all we have to do is put the rows together, nest them at the seam right here, and then sew them at 1/4 inch. And these will be ironed towards the cranberry patch. Nest those seams, sew at 1/4 inch, and iron towards the cranberry patch or the cranberry rectangle. Okay, so we've got these all sewn together, iron towards the patch. Now we're ready to add these to the sides of our center section. And right here you match up those center seams, they'll nest, and you pin them together. Same on this side, make sure I got it going the right way. Yep. Nest those seams. I would think that if I didn't have it going the right way, those seams wouldn't nest, so that's a good way to tell too. So we're going to sew these 1/4 inch and iron towards the outside. Okay, here we go. There's my finished long border. So you're going to flip it over like this, and you're going to match a lot of seams. You're going to match these seams and these 2 seams over here. And you get those matched up and you should be good to go. And they should all nest together. Sorry for my kitty interruption. I think I started talking and he was sleeping and he heard me and he's like, I need love and I need it now. He didn't care what was going on. Okay. So we'll go over, we'll get this sewn 1/4 inch and we're going to iron out towards the outside border. Yep, we're going to iron this way. So, there it is. There it is. I was looking for that earlier. Anyway, it will be done. Border number 1 will be done when I come back. Wow, look at that. That's the center section with border number 1 added to it. And this is border number 1 long right here and border number 1 short right here. So next up is border number 2. Okay, we're on to the second border. And it is very, very similar to the first border. You've just got different colors in here. You've got one more of these squares, and then the flying geese is a different color. These are longer, but the edges here to make the long and the short borders are exactly the same. So I'm not going to show you how to make these. You need 2 of the short and you need 2 of the long border edges here, exactly as the first border. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. We need 4 of these intersections. I've got 3 done, so I'm going to do the 4th and show you how I put it together. So it's going to be really quick. The flying geese in the middle is going to be the teal color, not the green color like last time. And I've already marked the back of my squares, so I'm going to get that set up to sew. And since I showed you how to do flying geese before, I'm just going to finish this flying goose out. And then, excuse me, we've got 4 of these squares. So you're just going to take the 2 or 4 of the teal triangles and cream triangles and put those together. Sew those together 1/4 inch, clip the tails. And then these edges right here. I've got 2 square cranberries already with the diagonals, and then the 3.5 inch rectangle is going to go right here. So I'll get that set up, and this right side I want to be like that. Excuse me, where I'm sewing right there. And then over here I want it to be like this. Whoops. Where I'm sewing right here. So at this point I'm going to get all my squares, these squares sewn, these rectangles sewn, and my flying geese sewn. And then I will come back and lay it out, and we'll get the top put on. Okay, here's my sewn and ironed pieces. Got my flying geese here, my 2 squares made out of the triangles on either side, and then the end piece here with the 3.5 inch rectangle and the cranberry units. So what we're going to do is just sew all of these pieces together, and on this side we're going to iron everything to this end of the strip, and then on this side we're going to iron everything to this end of the strip, and then we'll come back and we can put this on. Okay, there's all my pieces sewn together, and everything on this side is ironed towards that edge, and everything on this side is ironed towards that edge. So now we can just put these 2 pieces together, match up the edges, pin in the middle, sew 1/4 inch, and we'll iron towards the cream strip. So I'm going to take this over, I'm going to get it ironed, or I'm going to get it sewn, and I'm going to get it ironed, and we'll come back and we'll put our edges on. Okay, there's my center section done. We are going to need 2 short ends, which would be this one, and 2 long ends, which are going to be these 2. So now all we have to do is put these together, matching up that center seam, and we've ironed them in opposite directions so they will nest together. And we'll just put the ends on all of these, and we'll get them sewn at 1/4 inch, and then we'll come back and we can add them to our little quilt, and it's gonna be so beautiful because I love the colors and I love the pattern, and so far I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Sometimes you put quilts together and they end up being just kind of a chore. But this one has been a lot of fun. So, let's get this last one on. And I'm going to get these sewn. I'm going to iron them all towards the end piece. And then we'll put them on our little quilt. Okay, there's my 4 borders. And we start with the short ones. So we'll put those aside, the longer ones aside. And then we can put this short side on opposite sides and match up these seams here. Clips, Carrie, clips. Seem to forget those. I'm going to go over here and match up these seams. And there aren't any seams in between to match, so we will just start pinning, lining up those edges. And then let's do the other side. and start matching those edges up. Excuse me, still getting over this cold. And some more clips. We're going to sew these at 1/4 inch, and we are going to iron towards the border on each side. So 1/4 inch on each of the short borders, and then iron towards the border. Okay, there's our center unit with the 2 short borders put on. Now we can put the 2 longer borders on. Let's see what seams we got here. We got this end seam to match. We got these seams to match. And then that's it. Excuse me, those 2 seams. And then we can start pinning in the middle. Lining up our edge. And then all we have left after this is the 3rd border and to finish the quilt. Do the side. Okay. Take this over 1/4 inch and then iron towards the border. And just like that, we got our 2nd border on. So the 1st and the 2nd border are very similar. Biggest difference is right here in the flying geese. They're 2 different colors. And then in the 2nd border, you've added one of these squares. And then this unit is just a little bit longer than this unit. But the ends are exactly the same. So it went together pretty fast. Once you know how to make one thing, then you just have to make 3 more of them. So yeah, there you go. The next thing to do will be the 3rd border. And then I'm also going to finish the quilt. I'm going to back it, quilt it, and bind it at that time too. So if you want to watch that, then hit subscribe down below and like this video, and you'll get notified when that video comes out. So thank you very much for watching this video.